Lobries and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lobry and Gentleland, the freaky Fruitopia frontliner of the OVHO operation.
I study rap battles for a living.
Bringing battles of bars to business corporations, selection of contestants for his game of who wants to be a defendant of defamation. Will the judge be complacent in the Canadian cloud degradation of the sacred nature and the state of free speech between MCs in a battle they both chose to compete?
I study rap battles for a living.
Well, Labriana, the Marilyn Monroe VHO, has sent his team to court today, so let's break down how it'll go. But first, squeeze the like and subscribe buttons like a sock to a toe. Now, Lobries and Gentlegrams,
I study rap battles for a living.
yes, I know what you're about to say, another Drake video. And my response to you is, as long as the stunt double of Sexy Red keeps spiraling, the Rapaholics hotline will keep on dialing. Don't get it confused, there's tons of other content on the page. Check out everything we've been talking about when it comes to Pusha T, Travis Scott, the Clips' comeback album, Kendrick's verse on that album, the new Lil Wayne album. There's been a lot going on. I've been covering it all, but one thing I will never fail to cover is this historically hilarious and potentially free speech hindering lawsuit that Labriana has drafted. It's a slap in the face to rap battles, and we will cover it for as long as it stretches out. So today was an important day. It was the first day that UMG and Drake's lawyers stepped foot in court. And there's a million questions to ask yourself, right? Like,
I study rap battles for a living.
what would it take for Drake to win this lawsuit? What type of evidence would he have to garner up against Kendrick, against UMG, to show that they were really calculated in trying to defame his character? You also got to ask yourself how long this thing will stretch out, what actually happens to rap battles and music in general in the future if a case like this actually goes through and Drake wins. Does this put a permanent threat on rap battles in the future going forward, with artists now knowing that they run the risk of getting their label or even themselves involved in legal drama depending on what they say in a diss song? The basis of UMG's argument is not only the fact that Drake voluntarily engaged in this rap battle,
I study rap battles for a living,
and egged Kendrick on to quote-unquote talk about him liking young girls and Taylor Made, but also the fact that diss songs in general are known by rap fans as hyperbole, aka exaggerated truth. Now, the judge here basically has to deem, can the reasonable consumer clearly understand that Kendrick was simply exaggerating truth for the sake of the rap battle, or were they led to believe through UMG's promotional tactics of Not Like Us, through the actual lyrics of Not Like Us, through the imagery in the cover art or the music video, were they led to believe that Drake is in fact a PDF? Now, why this case is also kind of interesting, and the one thing that I will say might be a positive out of it, is the fact that it centers around botting. Now, basically what botting is record companies paying for fake streams to artificially, fakely boost the numbers of a song. If this case can actually peel the curtain back behind the shady practices that record labels have been implementing for not just Kendrick, not just Drake, but likely many, almost every major artist in the music industry, that would be quite interesting. Now, it's important to note that Drake's botting allegations against Kendrick, against UMG, are all off the basis of information and belief. For example, in Drake's complaint, he says, literally word for word, on information and belief, UMG was incentivized to devalue Drake's music and brand in order to gain leverage in negotiations, doing so by using bots to boost Not Like Us's numbers on Spotify and artificially manufacture it into a global hit. Now, we understand, right, that the impact of Not Like Us stretches far and wide beyond a couple million streams that were fake on Spotify, if that was even true. But I do also think a really interesting thing we got to point out that will probably play an important role in court in understanding UMG's intentions behind everything is the fact that Drake makes the bold claim that because he was about to renegotiate his deal with UMG, they were essentially incentivized to devalue his brand to gain leverage in negotiations. He says that word for word in the lawsuit. What does he mean by that? Well, of course, in 2022, Drake signed one of the biggest contracts within the music industry for allegedly $400 million with UMG. People compared this deal to a 360 deal on steroids. A 360 deal is essentially when a record label pays an artist a large sum of money, but in return, they not only get profits of the music, the masters, etc., they really get profits from every revenue generating aspect of an artist's brand. So when an artist goes on tour, the record label will recoup some of that money. An artist sells merch, vinyls, maybe they create a movie, whatever the case is, the record label's eating off everything. And so you got to remember, Drake signed one of these deals on steroids. $400 million he was given in 2022, And of course, he's mentioning in the lawsuit that he was up for a renegotiation of that contract by 2024, 2025, which is when he alleges UMG tried to destroy his reputation. Now, if you break it down, that's an insanely fast amount of time to recoup all that money. What that means is the record label paid Drake $400 million and they said, hey, Drake, I hear you like him young. Nah, I'm just kidding. They didn't say that. They said, listen, Drake, here's $400 million. Go out on tour, go drop your albums, and however long it takes, we're going to recoup our $400 million plus a little bit of profit through all the different ventures that you have going on. Now, think about how many albums Drake has released since signing this new contract, right? He signed it, I believe, right after Certified Lover Boy. So after that, you got Honestly Nevermind, For All the Dogs, Her Loss, some sexy sleepy love songs. Since the beef alone, Drake has released over 40 songs in the past year. And that's not even mentioning what UMG might own of his back catalog. All the massive blockbuster classic albums that he has, the Take Cares, Nothing Was the Same, Views. All these huge projects that still to this day are generating millions of streams on a daily basis. Now, it's hard to get the exact number, but according to various sources, Drake's catalog has generated around 100 billion streams just on Spotify alone since 2022. Spotify ridiculously pays out only around 0.003 cents per one stream. So when you do the math on that, Drake's 100 billion streams that he's got since 2022 have generated anywhere from $300 to $500 million. He also toured throughout that entire time, generating around $320 million on his It's All a Blur tour, where there were text messages leaked between him and an ex-girlfriend where he literally said, I'm a slave to Live Nation. Touring like an animal, doing 80 shows back to back, album after album. His catalog alone, again, from 2022 to now has generated anywhere from $300 to $500 million. The tour generated over $300 million. We're not even counting the sales of all his OVO merch, all that stuff. It's fair to say that he recouped that $400 million. He was able to pay back UMG that $400 mil very quickly thanks to the sales of his music and the success of his tour, right? It's likely that UMG wasn't expecting him to complete and recoup that money that quickly and come back for renegotiations. And of course, with him doing this tour, with him having all this success, Drake does have a lot of leverage and negotiating power coming back into the room with UMG for round 2 of their contract, right? He could tell them, hey, look how quickly I generated back that 400 mil. It's time for an even bigger contract this time. So what Drake here is accusing UMG of is saying, hey, recently, a few years after I signed a contract with you guys also partnered up with Kendrick Lamar and PG Lang. You guys saw how quickly I regenerated that 400 mil that you paid me, right? I got a huge fan base. I could leave you guys, go independent, and you're losing one of your biggest cash cows. So I know that when we renegotiate these contracts, I have huge bargaining power here because I could say, hey, I'll just walk away, do my own thing independently, sign a deal with a different label, whatever the case is. You guys won't be profiting off me anymore unless you pay me a lot of money. You guys, UMG, you saw that and you said, hey, we just signed this other rapper named Kendrick Lamar who's almost as big and definitely has as large of a cultural, if not bigger, cultural impact than Drake does. Why don't we get him to tarnish Drake's legacy, bait him into a rap battle, and absolutely destroy his reputation so that way Drake's brand is, knocked down a few pegs, and when he comes back to the table to negotiate, he'll need us a lot more than we'll need him. He'll need our resources, and we won't have to pay him as much since Kendrick just destroyed his reputation. It's definitely a far-fetched accusation, but things get really deep when you think about how much is on the line and how much really UMG needs Drake from a financial perspective if they want to keep profiting. So this is what Drake is accusing them of, right? And what I think will be interesting of this lawsuit, I think it's horrible for the sanctity of rap battles, the sanctity of free speech. I do think it will be interesting on the business side of things to see if Drake actually could come out with some cold hard evidence of these massive corporations, these record labels, really doing stuff behind the scenes to artificially boost numbers and position their artists in compromised spots when it's time to re-up these contracts and keep themselves in these powerful positions. So you got really two sides to this lawsuit. That's how you could think about it, right? And I'm trying to give you guys a bird's eye view of everything that's going on here so that when we do get into the weeds of how this lawsuit is being broken down by the judge and everything, you guys kind of understand the different angles that both UMG and Drake's lawyers are trying to take. There's two sides to this thing. Ultimately, Drake is saying that UMG deliberately tried to defame his character to lower his brand. On one side, he's saying that putting out the song in general and the cover art and the music video, everything kind of making fun of Drake and insinuating, he likes him young, all that stuff is bad practice when Drake is also an artist of UMG. They obviously weren't looking out in his best interest. If you want my take, this side of the lawsuit is absolute BS because obviously, again, this is a rap battle you deliberately participated in. These rumors have existed long before Not Like Us, and you even touched on them in Tailor Made Freestyle. You were very well aware of this, and trying to fight this whole thing, trying to fight the defamation specifically on the release of the song is problematic in the future when you judge how artists are going to have freedom when it comes to what they can say in a rap battle or just in their music in general. That's one side of this entire thing. The second side is, of course, the fact that Drake is saying, hey, not only did you guys release this song, but you made sure to create a global campaign around it. You made sure to plaster it on all the biggest stages in the world, specifically to lower my brand value so that when I come back to renegotiate my contract, I have way less to work with because I'm not the biggest artist that I was a couple years back. And how did you do this? Well, you paid radio stations to play the song. You paid for bots so that the song had crazy, crazy numbers on Spotify to the point when then the NFL is looking at it saying, hey, Kendrick Lamar is huge right now. He has huge numbers on Spotify. Let's book him for the Super Bowl. Let's get him on the Grammy stage. Let's give him these awards because this song has become so big. Drake is saying that there were deliberate, intentional, illegal practices that UMG conducted to make the song bigger than what it actually was. Now, again, it's all off of information and belief. Every time Drake's team in their lawsuit makes a claim about UMG or Kendrick using bots on Not Like Us, they always start the sentence off by saying it's on information and belief. What does that mean? It means we have reason to believe. We don't have actual proof, but we have, enough rumors circulating that we think this is true. We think UMG botted Not Like Us. And what they essentially want here is for the judge to say, okay, Drake, you might have a point. Maybe UMG really did do these things. Why don't you go ahead and dig through all of Kendrick's contracts, his marketing team, all the discussions between UMG's marketing team, Kendrick's marketing team, and kind of, understand the bigger picture of what was going on behind the promotion of Not Like Us. While UMG on the other side is saying, Judge, look at this BS lawsuit, all right? Drake is saying Not Like Us was defamation. These are rap lyrics. They're supposed to be expressive. They're not literal. The words used are opinion and exaggeration. Kendrick is not actually making real accusations, and this is a standard First Amendment defense. Diss tracks also usually use metaphor, bravado, and insults. Courts shouldn't treat them like they're actual news or factual communications. Drake himself, being a hypocrite, has also publicly opposed using rap lyrics as literal testimony in trials. He signed a petition years ago saying that rap lyrics should not be used in court, and UMG points this out as an inconsistency which undermines his current position that Not Like Us, the lyrics in it, should be used in this defamation case. And UMG also says essentially Drake started this whole thing, right? He said, talk about me liking young girls. He egged Kendrick on in this rap battle, and now he's trying to litigate his way out of a lyrical loss. There was even an amici curiae, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Essentially, that's a Latin term which means friends of the court. It was 4 academic scholars who had teamed up to write a letter to the judge to back UMG up in all of their arguments, basically saying that diss tracks are creative expression. They're not literal statements, they're creative performances that, again, use hyperbole, exaggeration, metaphor, bluster. They also emphasize how bad of a precedent this sends and the horrible interpretation from the public that they'll see if the court takes these lyrics in Not Like Us as factual representation. It really chills freedom of speech. And at the same time, on an even bigger scale, these quote-unquote friends of the court, these scholars, argue that there is a risk of racial bias as well. They warned that treating rap lyrics like confessions invites implicit bias into the legal system and undermines due process. And keep in mind, we're in the beginning stages of this entire thing still. Like, UMG's lawyers, Drake's lawyers, they went to court today. We're going to break that down right now. But all they're arguing right now is why the case should or shouldn't be thrown out. They're not even getting into the weeds just yet. UMG is essentially just trying to get this case, quote unquote, dismissed, while Drake's legal team is saying, nah, Judge, look at all this stuff. Like, we have a very valid case as to why we should continue going on with this whole thing and being able to dig into UMG's documents and really building our own case out of this. So shout out to Inner City Press, this Twitter account who has attended the Diddy trial. He was in court today as well for the UMG and Drake trial, and he breaks it down word for word in terms of every interaction between the judge and both Drake and UMG's lawyers. So the case starts off with the judge, Judge Vargas, saying, "You seem to say a diss track could never be defamatory, but New York law says the form is not dispositive, aka just because something is a diss track doesn't automatically mean it's protected under free speech laws. Under New York law, how it's said, the form of how the lyrics are delivered, doesn't decide everything. If the lyrics sound like real facts and people could believe them, it can still count as defamation, even in a rap song." So UMG's lawyer says, look at the shock jock cases. So essentially in their letter to the judge, when they said, hey, we should dismiss this case, they provided some different prior cases where diss records were in the centers of lawsuits and got dismissed. And the judge said, it's not the same thing. Perhaps the court needs more info and cannot yet dismiss this legal case. UMG's lawyer said, Drake opened the door. In the third person is that when Kendrick says, heard you like him young, there is no surprise. Of course, referencing the fact that Drake opened the door by saying, hey, Kendrick, talk about me liking young girls in tailor-made freestyle. The judge says, Kendrick suggests there are other secrets that he has yet to reveal. It's ambiguous. Because, of course, in Not Like Us, Kendrick rap's rabbit hole is still deep. I could go further, I promise. So UMG's lawyer rebuttals that by saying, there are questions of law the court can dismiss. Judge says, what are certified PDFs? UMG's lawyer says, it's a play on certified lover boy. Because as the lyric goes, certified lover boy, certified PDFs. Of course, a play on words on Drake's album title, Certified Lover Boy. So the judge says, but how would the ordinary listener know the name of Drake's album, Certified Lover Boy? Because again, you guys have to remember, right? The argument here, Drake is claiming that UMG deliberately defamed his name. They're trying to convince the judge that, hey, because UMG blew this song up like crazy, now the average person thinks Drake is a PDF. They don't know about the rap battle. They don't know about the history. They didn't know anything except for this song. And it was this song that convinced them Drake is a PDF, aka defamed his name. And it's all because of UMG. That's why in the lawsuit, Drake's legal team literally puts a bunch of random social media comments from people on YouTube, people on Instagram, whatever the case is, that call Drake a PDF. So again, the judge asks, like, how would the ordinary listener know about Drake's album title, Certified Lover Boy? Like, isn't this kind of implying that he's a PDF? UMG's lawyer says, the context is all the rumors about Drake and young females. They say, we seek dismissal for Drake having used the information and belief form of pleading. Because again, right, every time Drake makes an accusation about UMG using bots on the song, UMG promoting the song in illegal ways, they always start off the accusation by saying, on information and belief, not on factual basis, we believe they used payola or used bots. It's all off information and belief, aka rumors and hearsay and what we believe based off of public information. No concrete sources just yet. And that's why UMG is saying, let's throw this whole case out because it's all BS. There's no real sources here. Drake's legal team is just going off of, again, information and belief. So then Drake's lawyer steps in, Gottlieb, who says, on a Rule 12 motion, the question is whether a listener could have thought facts were being conveyed in the song. UMG wants the judge to weigh 17 articles, but the time to weigh evidence is not at this stage. Because again, UMG, in their letter to dismiss this entire lawsuit, they put in a bunch of different articles showing how these PDF rumors existed long before the rap battle, showing how Drake himself was signing petitions arguing that lyrics shouldn't be used in court, showing Drake on stage with that girl, showing Drake at girl basketball games, tons of different articles in their request to dismiss the lawsuit. And Drake's lawyer here is saying, they presented you a bunch of articles, but ultimately it's about, can a listener of the song have perceived through the song that facts of Drake being a PDF were conveyed? The judge says, I can take judicial notice. The lyrics are what they are. Drake's lawyer comes back in to say, UMG made this song more culturally ubiquitous than any other song. 9 billion streams, played at a bar mitzvah. The judge says, an interesting bar mitzvah that would play this song. What I think is funny about this whole thing is that in Drake's lawsuit alone, he's claiming that the term Not Like Us is anti-Semitic, aka, I guess, prejudice against Jewish people because Drake is Jewish. But then they're arguing here that the song was played at bar mitzvahs, which is a religious ceremony for Jewish people. Drake had a bar mitzvah, so which one is it? Is the song anti-Semitic, or can it be played in bar mitzvahs thanks to UMG's massive promotional campaign on it? So then the judge starts talking about tailor-made freestyle. They say, then there's the use of AI voice of Tupac. Drake's lawyer says, I'm not convinced of the relevance of that. The judge says, shouldn't I view the entire rap battle? Because again, not to continuously repeat myself, but this is an important point, right? Like, to prove that Not Like Us was defamatory, they have to prove that the casual listener could have taken the lyrics in Not Like Us as fact. But the context is important there. You have to remember that this was a rap battle, and that's why these lyrics were even presented in the first place. Once you understand that, and you understand the other diss songs in the battle, you could kind of see how the entire story plays out and why there's a bigger reason why Not Like Us even has the lyrics it has. This wasn't a defamation campaign against UMG onto Drake. This was Kendrick Lamar attempting by any means necessary to whip Drake's behind in a rap battle. But Drake's lawyer says, of course, this song was unique. It was beyond the rap battle. The judge says Kendrick Lamar didn't know he'd perform at the Super Bowl. Drake's lawyer says UMG republished the material with knowledge when it launched the Super Bowl campaign. There were 3 attacks on Drake's home. The cover art is Drake's home with S-offender location tags. So yeah, they're saying this stretched beyond the rap battle. This was beyond a diss track, right? Like, you had the cover art with Drake's home, and then he saw those attacks on his home right after the song was released. You saw UMG license the song for the Super Bowl. It was performed there months after the rap battle. Drake's legal team is trying to say this song was a defamation of Drake's character because it stretched far beyond just the means of them throwing diss tracks back and forth. So the judge says, but didn't Drake say something about Kendrick Lamar's child, that he's not the biological father of his child? Drake's lawyer says the court doesn't have enough info on that. So the judge here knows what he's talking about, right? He's saying, like, I don't have to judge this entire rap battle. Like, they were both throwing crazy insults at each other, right? Crazy accusations on both ends. And Drake with that whole Tupac AI thing, right? Like, wasn't he doing a little bit of antagonizing about this specific rumor that Kendrick then inflated on Not Like Us? Drake's lawyer jumps back in to say 10% of the streams of the song are false. A popular podcaster alleged the use of bots on the song. There's also a stream farmer. There was whitelisting, misdirected search results, and payola. Whitelisting is essentially because, and I think this is horrible that they put this in the lawsuit, basically when reactors react to a song on YouTube, the owner of that song, the copyrighted material, takes the profits of that reaction video. But with Not Like Us, for the first week of its release, they whitelisted the song, aka all reactors who wanted to react to the song were able to profit off of their reaction videos, which led to a massive amount of profits being put, rightfully so, in these reactors' pockets. I don't know if you guys follow Knox Hill. I believe he almost got his entire channel taken down due to a bunch of copyright strikes, all from UMG, for reacting to music that UMG owned. This is a massive problem that these people, these record labels, these institutions, they're going to need to figure out. It's the same way pirating back in the day. LimeWire, when you used to illegally download music, that was because iTunes was charging you $1 or $1.30 for every single song that you wanted to buy. That was a very outdated system, right? That's why streaming had to come in, because these corporations realized, okay, music, the way people consume music is changing. We needed to create a platform where they don't have to pay so much. They're not getting ripped off to listen to the music they want, or else they'll just keep downloading it illegally. I think that's a very similar thing to what's going on with the reaction community, right? There's obviously a huge need and want and demand for streamers, for reactors, for these guys who go live on Twitch and listen to music, create music, etc. This is a huge market right now, and UMG is very behind the curve because for a long time they haven't realized how profitable and how beneficial it actually is to just let these reaction channels grow their business, profit off of their videos where they react to the music, because it also brings promotion and new eyeballs onto UMG's music that they own, right? Reaction channels will keep popping up left and right, and reactors will be incentivized to do more reactions if they could actually profit off of the music they're reacting to. This helps, obviously, the reactors, but it also helps the record labels and the artists because it brings more attention to the songs themselves that these reactors are reacting to. And there's a huge audience of people who want to see the Knox Hills, the Screwface Johns. Even maybe some of you guys want to see me react to some music, right? I think after COVID and everything, this is like the next evolution of music consumption. People want to feel a sense of community when they're listening to the music they love, and that's why they turn to these reactors to break down the bars, to give a little bit of context or opinion behind the music. This is where the next stage of music consumption is going, and I think UMG and Kendrick Lamar's team did a really good job at catching up to that when they realized, hey, if we just let all these reactors profit off of Not Like Us reactions, they'll keep doing more of these reaction videos, and in turn, more people will talk about the song. and the reactors will benefit because they'll make more money. Everybody wins, essentially. Drake here is trying to shut that down, right? He's saying normally UMG puts copyright strikes when reactors react to the song. But on Not Like Us, they didn't do that because they tried to spread the word of Not Like Us. And that's wrong. That's illegal, right? That's against what they usually do. And they only did it specifically for this song. What he's failing to realize is that this was probably Kendrick's team's idea, right? They probably went to the record label and said, hey, let's just do this for this week. You're already going to make a ton of money off this song because it's a great song. People are going to go stream it on Spotify. Let the reactors react. Don't profit off that. And instead, you'll get way more people actually talking about the song and going to listen to it on their own. I think this is one of the worst things Drake put in this lawsuit because, again, it just sets back the entire online community from moving in a more innovative way when it comes to reaction channels, content creators, interacting with artists, and both of them helping each other out. The same way, I think, like, just the fact that Kendrick was able to monetize a diss song alone is very innovative. This was the first time we ever saw, aside from, ironically, Drake's back-to-back, where a diss song became a global hit, right? The dollars, the budget for the music video, for the promotion, was actually put behind it. And I think that's a really innovative way of evolving the rap battle space going forward because everybody benefits, right? The artists earn more money from the actual diss songs that they're putting out. When they're sleeping in the studio for those several weeks where they're going back and forth, they're able to actually monetize off of those songs. The record labels as well. Everybody eats, right? Drake is trying to shut that down. So the judge asks Drake's lawyer, what is the damage in bot streaming? What's the damage when you actually use bots on streams? They say every other artist on the platform is injured. And UMG's lawyers jump in and say, in the record are articles mentioning his going to girls' basketball games, relationship at 31 with a 13-year-old MBB, aka Millie Bobby Brown, and lyrics. These are the different articles that UMG submitted in their letter to request by the judge that this case gets thrown out. Now, shout out to this Twitter account, Inner City Press, again, but it's kind of funny, like they kind of end this whole documentation of this court date on a pretty anticlimactic note. Like this is the last thing they write here. And I tried to pay for their Twitter subscription. They were kind of implying that there was more information if you paid for it. I couldn't find any, but I did find a decent summary of a lawyer summarizing what went down in this hearing. So check it out.
Drake versus Universal Music Group. Judge Vargas just completed her hearing on the motion to dismiss. Let me tell you what I think she's going to do with this case. As you know, Drake sued Universal Music claiming defamation in the publication of the song Not Like Us.
I study rap battles for a living.
Making him and calling him a pedophile when in fact he never was. Universal Music Group moved to dismiss those claims. They say, Judge,
I study rap battles for a living.
you can't actually bring a lawsuit like this. Why? Because the statement certified lover boy, certified pedophile. First off, how do you certify a lover boy in the same way you certify a pedophile? Hyperbole, trash talk, just nonsense being said in rap songs. That's not something you can sue for.
I study rap battles for a living.
You have to dismiss this case. What do I think the judge is going to do? Universal's big argument is that look at the context of what happened here. In the tailor-made freestyle, Drake was out there saying, yeah, go ahead, talk about how I like young girls. That's going to be a win for me. That's an actual quote from the tailor-made freestyle. And now Kendrick comes back, he accepts his invitation to talk about the young girls. So what's the problem? This is the trash talk back and forth that we all expected to happen in this rap battle.
I study rap battles for a living.
Drake's lawyers made a great argument, which is, wait a second. Not Like Us was not part of the rap battle. Yeah, it was a song in the rap battle, but it eclipsed the rap battle and became its own thing, a cultural phenomenon, a song like no other song in the history of music, quite frankly. It got to 300 million streams in 35 days. Nothing else has ever done that. Today, it sits at 9 billion streams. The way Universal took this song and pushed it out, they made it into something else. The judge's decision is basically, what would a reasonable listener listening to this song decide? Arguably, the judge could find that a reasonable listener, I don't know who the reasonable listener is. It's too early in the case. I need more evidence. I need more discovery. I need to actually see what people have been saying about this song, what people can testify about how they heard it, so on and so forth. Long story short, I think what's going to happen in this case, the motion to dismiss will get denied. It's way too early to try to dismiss this case. Either way, this case will get appealed to the Second Circuit, and so you're going to have this case going on and on for quite a long time. I think this case needs to settle, because the way these lawyers, and the lawyers were both phenomenal on both sides, the way these lawyers were going, all the issues that the judge brings up, this looks like a case that could last with appeals for years and years and years, going all the way to the Supreme Court. Drake could get a huge bag. Universal could win, which would be terrible, because the conversation around this lawsuit will continue on, making Drake seem like a crybaby. Settle this case.
Now, on a little bit of a brighter note, we do have some actual music to look forward to very soon, because of course we're getting this Clips album in just 11 days. This is going to mark their grand return after over 15 years of not doing an album together, Pusha T and Malice, and they have none other than Kendrick Lamar on the album. Now, I'm sure you guys already know the strings that Drake and UMG have tried to be pulling behind the scenes to get this Kendrick Lamar verse censored, because obviously the quote-unquote, as Pusha T puts it, optics of Pusha and Kendrick being on the same song look a little fishy. And this song was recorded and delivered to UMG right on the cusp of Drake threatening UMG to take them to court over Not Like Us. They said, we love the Clips album, but not this Kendrick verse. Not right now. We're still trying to, make things good between Drake and everybody, right? So Pusha T had to buy himself out of the deal. He signed to Roc Nation right after that, and now they are releasing this song. But we get a little bit of a glimpse of what we could look forward to on this album, because, well, first, look how Pusha describes Kendrick actually getting on the album.
Clips and Kendrick together, that speaks lyricism. I don't think people want anything other than that. It was a situation where the traffic of people just coming in and out of the studio, it happened to be a person from Kendrick's camp in the studio. We let his folks hear the album, and he called him and was like, listen, you need to get on this. And mind you, at this particular time, he was just super busy. Yeah. And man, sent them songs over. Notice
how he said sent them songs over. Not just one song, possibly several. Now, we already heard a preview of Kendrick's verse on Chains and Whips, right? But could we be expecting a second Kendrick Lamar feature on the Clips album? Well, listen to what Pusha T had to say.
He just called back laughing. Like, oh man, I gotta do it. Don't worry about it. He was like, yo, I want to do two. The idea of right place, right time makes everything happen, and having the actual product. And it's music, so you can get caught up in the moment. Like, you can catch people up in the moment with something polarizing. And I feel like that was one of those moments for us.
And this would be absolutely insane, right? I mean, we heard him on multiple features on Playboi Carti's last album, but Kendrick and the Clips together, that's really a whole other level, right? And if we really do get multiple Kendrick features here, we got to talk about not just the victory lap Kendrick has been on, so much so to the point where this song became so big that a lawsuit got generated out of it. Kendrick also just broke the record for GNX being the rap album with the most weeks at the #1 spot on the Billboard rap charts. But we also got to talk about this feature run, right? Between the Carti album, between the SZA features, and now if we get multiple features on this Clips album, that was one thing I said was missing from Kendrick's victory lap here, is that we didn't see a crazy feature run. So maybe that's what he's about to do. And is it going to prompt Drake to sue? Well, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I study rap battles for a living.